Human rights group Black Sash is concerned about the ongoing challenges facing SASSA beneficiaries due to the phasing out of SASSA gold cards, which will be replaced by the black Postbank cards. Beneficiaries across South Africa have now been given a reprieve after a deadline extension was announced for the swapping of cards. Millions of beneficiaries have until the 20th of March to switch over to the new system. For reaction on an announcement that the deadline for beneficiaries to swap their gold card for the black card has been extended from the 28th of February to the 20th of March, we are joined by the Black Sash Regional Manager for KwaZulu-Natal, Evashnee Naidu. Evashnee, thanks for your time. Thanks for being with us this morning.
Thank you so much, Leanne, for having us.
Are you happy about this? I mean, has this been sort of something that I know you've been talking out about the process? So it's now been extended to the 20th of next month. Do you think this is what's needed to sort the situation out?
Black Sash welcomes every extension in this regard, because what we've seen on the ground has ensured that, unfortunately, Postbank has not been able to keep up with its own timelines and also not been able to reach the necessary catchment population that is required to change their SASSA cards by this particular deadline. So whilst we are happy that there is a deadline, there are other issues that are linked to this deadline that also need to be addressed, like the network connectivity at Postbank sites, the geographical choosing of these card replacement sites, as well as access for beneficiaries to these sites, including those that are frail, disabled or bedridden, in order to ensure that they do meet this deadline in time by the 20th of March.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously this is a process that's been known about for a while, but what you've been saying and warning about is saying that this replacement process has been plagued by several challenges. So let's outline those. What have you noticed on the ground?
Well, as much as we've known that this card replacement was going to happen, the actual phasing out of the SASSA card only started from September 2024. So it's not like there's been a huge amount of time in order for people to get to the necessary sites. But Black Sash has been monitoring this since September 2024, just to be able to give recommendations on any systemic challenges that we've picked up. And like we said, particularly grant beneficiaries can only travel to sites on grant paydays, because this is the only time that they have money. But unfortunately, many of these sites are not situated where beneficiaries live and are able to access their grant. This means they travel very far distances. When they get to a site, and if it's offline, they have to travel back home without doing the card replacement. We noted this very much in the February grant payment cycle, where lots of beneficiaries traveled away without doing their card replacements. And this has not been rectified since September 2024. So it meant that if the deadline wasn't extended, people would not have been able to change their card in time for the 20th of March. Yeah. Further to that, there have been technical glitches even on the SASSA SDA card, where people have not been getting paid. And we've also noted that there's people who are getting short payments, even though that they've replaced these Postbank black cards. And these are issues that we're still trying to figure out how to work on this, because even Postbank officials on the ground are not able to assist beneficiaries with how to navigate all of this. And these are some of the challenges that we've noted firsthand.
So, I mean, I hate to be the negative critic of this, but how, in goodness name, do they expect to fix all of that in a month? If we've known about this for a very long time, this switch, and there have just been problems at every angle. How do you think, or are you optimistic that this little bit of an extension, not even a month extension, is going to fix this up?
We're cautiously optimistic, but I think SASSA and Postbank have to work together if they intend to make this deadline work. They need to make sure that they increase the amount of sites so that they reach the beneficiaries that are not able to get to sites closer to them. They need to amplify the mobile roving units so that particularly the rural and peri-urban areas are reached, and they need to put better systems in place, particularly for those who can't get to particular sites. I heard Paseka on your show earlier talking about procurators, but unfortunately this is not as easy as it seems, because even on the ground with SASSA officials, many SASSA officials say to beneficiaries there's no such thing as a procurator anymore, because they're asking beneficiaries to now move to bank accounts, and that means you get your letter of authority from a third third party, which is the bank. So there's also miscommunication amongst SASSA, Postbank, retailers on the ground who are not well au fait with what's going on. And this miscommunication, this disinformation is also leading to fear, chaos and confusion amongst beneficiaries. So unless SASSA and Postbank get their house in order, improve the accessibility of sites, increase the capacity on the ground, we may not necessarily meet that 20th of March deadline.
And that's a big worry, because I mean, I've even, this is quoting you from a previous interviews that you've been doing, where you're saying that some of the sites listed online, number one, don't exist. Okay, so if I'm now going to make the long journey to get to a site, it doesn't exist. And two, a lot of the retailers don't even have stock of cards because they don't know that they have to do this. So, I mean, this is, one would hope that this will be rectified as well.
Exactly, and these are issues that we have been raising consistently. The KZN Black Sash team was in Escort last week, Wednesday, and there were supposed to be 3 sites that were rolling out Postbank Black Cards: the Boxer store, the ShopRite, and the Pick and Pay. We visited 2 of the 3 stores, and none of them were rolling out the Postbank card. Sure. There are about 26 villages surrounding Escort where people would need to travel in and out in order to be able to do the card replacement. And nobody there knew what we were talking about. In fact, ShopRite was actually giving beneficiaries their own card because they obviously were not prepared and did not have the Postbank card available. So it's these kinds of scenarios that also create the challenge, the chaos, the confusion, and it's not a smooth process. And this is the worry that we have, is that if the messaging is not correct, if the access to geographical sites is not correct, where beneficiaries who have SASSA cards are actually placed, and if those that are frail, disabled, and bedridden are not taken care of, then we are going to have a challenge come the 20th of March. And even the alternatives proposed post the 20th of March are not really viable for many beneficiaries who are going to be affected.
Yeah, I mean, when we heard the briefing from the Portfolio Committee on Social Development, what it did say was it's inundated with calls and emails from beneficiaries and their families who are frustrated with the lack of sites that issue the black cards. So it does speak very closely to what your experience is saying as well. The solution, they say, is they're going to bring these mobile units out. They're going to ensure that the system goes to the people as opposed to the people having to come to it. But, I mean, again, we've heard promises like this before for many, many other issues. But do you see a change? I suppose it's too early because it's only a Monday, so you may be able to start gauging if things have changed and they are trying to get these mobile stations out there.
The Black Sash will definitely be monitoring this on the ground as this rolls itself out, to ensure that we're able to give recommendations on this fact. And we ourselves, as Black Sash, will be working with our community partners to raise awareness about what's going on, to ensure that we also get up-to-date relevant information about where the sites are in order to try to support beneficiaries to get to these sites. But also, beneficiaries have the right not to change to the Postbank card. If they don't want to, they can also open any bank account of their choice and submit that to SASSA to have their grants paid in. So beneficiaries do have other alternatives before the 20th of March, and they must be made aware that they can access this so that they do not fall foul of the deadline come the 20th of March.
Yeah, that's an important point as well, is that the education behind all of this and allowing people to have the knowledge that there are more options available to them. Although you did hear from SASSA saying that it's easier to go the route that they are suggesting by getting that card, swapping it out, because it'll be a much smoother transition. But I'll leave that one, and perhaps we'll see how people take to this. Network issues, though. I mean, this is just one of the comments that I'm getting from a viewer coming on saying we are being affected by network through when the network, it seems easy because we see progress, but the network is a biggest problem, and they're struggling with this. They seem to always be offline. Is that something that you're hearing as well?
Absolutely. This is something we've seen firsthand from September 2024, when the first pilot sites were put up. The Postbank sites are also linked to Home Affairs, because in order to get the card replacement, a beneficiary has to use their biometric thumbprint or fingerprint in order to be able to be verified. And we also have been told that the Home Affairs site apparently has undergone their own updates, and this is also affecting the way the Postbank system is working. particularly on grant paydays, this is when the challenge happens. And I think this is probably for the first 7 days of every month that there is going to be a network challenge. And this is what is very worrying, because this has been something that you've experienced as Postbank from the beginning of your card replacement. And so how come in all of these months we are having a challenge to still sort of these network glitches? We heard our president even in SONA talk about the age of digitization and where all of our government services are going to be digitized and online. But if we can't even get this right, I worry about the future of South Africa if we're going completely digital for everything that we do. This is something that urgently needs to be rectified, because the cost and the burden is always placed on the beneficiary, never on government.
Yeah, let's look at that, because there's a lot of people that are still asking the question, you know what, why do I stand in a new queue? Here's another comment coming through saying, it's very inconvenient to stand in a long queue for the other cards, even though our current cards are working fine. We've not been told what the reason is for the change. I find that interesting from Vuyile Nchinga. He's one of our viewers who's writing to us here on social media. That is also an issue, is that if it's not being communicated properly, why? I mean, I understand that it's got to do with heightened security issues, that by moving from the one card to the other, you find that there is more security on it. But it's quite interesting to say that people don't even know why. They just know they have to change and they don't know why.
This is one of the biggest frustrations Black Sash has had about the way government rolls out its processes. There is never communication or consultation with the people that are affected. The same thing happened when we had to move to the SASSA Gold Card. The same thing happened when we shut down community cash pay points and beneficiaries had to move to post offices. The same thing happened when we closed post offices and forced beneficiaries to go to ATM and retailers. Now we're having the scenario where beneficiaries now have to change the SASSA SDA card to the Postbank Black Card, and these conversations are not happening in communities across the country about why this is happening, so that even then beneficiaries would have been more open to going to the sites, changing their cards, and we wouldn't be stuck with this rush and this fear and this confusion that we have now. As you rightly said, the SASSA SDA card is insecure, and National Treasury has said that SASSA has to change the card to a more secure card so that beneficiaries' monies are not stolen or the account is not hacked, and these grants are not eroded, and hence Postbank has created this far more secure card in order for beneficiaries to now be able to access their grants with a bit of peace of mind. But none of this has been shared with beneficiaries on the ground.
And it's important that people know why they're doing it. You don't want to just stand in a queue like this one. One of our other viewers writing into us, the handle is Roses Are Red, saying, I took my 84-year-old sister to exchange her gold card at Alberton Mall. So now at least I've got somewhere where I'm referencing here. So this is Alberton Mall. I know it's out of your domain in KZN, but still, people had been queuing from 5 a.m., but they had run out of cards. How do you expect the infirm to stand in lengthy queues in rain or hot sun? Why not use their bank of choice for the exchange? And there again, education. You can do that, but it's not being communicated.
Exactly, and this is the hugest challenge that we've had, is that beneficiaries do not know. And in our surveys, when we've been speaking to beneficiaries on the ground, it's not through the government social media sites or through national television that they found out about the card replacements. The most of the beneficiaries that we spoke to found it because of word of mouth. Their neighbor went and changed their card, somebody else had a problem, had to change their card, somebody didn't get their grant payment and went to SASSA and then was told to change to the Postbank card. This is the way communities are being able to support each other in order to navigate this process. It's not because there's been any formal communication or support to beneficiaries on the ground about what's happening. And as I shared before, you have the option of changing to a bank account of your choice, or if you already have an existing bank account, to change to that bank account. And then also what we're saying is that SASSA and Postbank need to work together. Yeah. Only in the recent weeks have we seen SASSA and Postbank actually jointly work together on this rollout. We've actually not seen SASSA in the forefront prior to this, engaging with beneficiaries and sharing what's happening. SASSA offices are currently inundated with beneficiaries that are coming to change to the bank of their choice or to give information about existing bank accounts that they have. And this also puts a burden on SASSA because they don't have the necessary infrastructure and capacity to deal with this overload. And other services are now going to suffer because they're having to deal with this issue as well.
Okay, you've given, I think, so much information here, and I'm going to ask you for just that little bit of advice. I'm repeating it 1,000 times because I think this is what people have been hoping for. If you are going to make your way out today to try and do something, if you can't, if it's too far to get that card, what do you recommend people do to make this situation work for you as an individual? Things that they might not know. Perhaps give us 3 tips that'll make the process easier for you.
Firstly, if you do have a Postbank black card replacement site near to you, then please go ahead and join the queue and replace the cards. Hopefully the cards are in stock. We have noted when the networks are working, they work fine, and the system takes about 2 minutes per beneficiary. If, however, this is not a solution or you're not able to do this, the advice for us as Black Sash would be, then if this is a challenge to you and you want to not miss the deadline and you want to ensure that your grant is paid, open a bank account of your choice or use information about your existing bank account and take this to SASSA at your earliest convenience and ensure that this is something that you're able to do so that you are taken care of in the next grant payment cycle. And thirdly would be just to make sure that you have the necessary correct information. You need your ID book if you're going to the Postbank card replacement site. If you're going to use a bank account of your choice, you need to make sure that you fill in the Annexure C form at the SASSA local office and give it to SASSA as speedily as possible so that it does not impact your March grant.
Evashnee, you've been a great help. Evashnee Naidu, who is the Black Sash's regional manager for KwaZulu-Natal, giving you advice on this whole replacement of SASSA gold cards. The extension, the 20th of March.